Hello everybody and welcome to Cause and Effect, a show about Vetes. Today we are talking about the EC final and we are going to analyze the final as a whole. But first I recommend that you go and watch the final, which I have recorded on our channel on YouTube, and we will have post a link to that video in the description below. So check that out before watching this part if you want to understand everything we say. We're going to reference it quite a lot. Anyhow, this is the sixth episode of the sports season. This is part 2, and yeah, here we go. Anyway, so Isak, you won the final. You were second seed into it. How did you think when you were going to take your seat?
First thing, we're getting to know what everybody played. Since we do this co-op, like pool together all our knowledges from the previous round within Team Sweden, plus Thiago, the other guy in the finals, were also on this small scouting endeavor. I knew what the other 4 players were playing, and we had a walk, Team Sweden, and we had a chat what my decisions I should make, and I got a lot of good feedback. And it started off with Tomas and David placing each other, or rather not placing each other towards each other, and then Benoit. I knew that the French guys do the same thing, so I was fairly certain that he knew what all the other players were playing. Yeah. But I made sure that he knew. So I did some research and checked. Okay, Benoit knows, because the only reasonable positioning for him is having Tomas as his predator, because either he can have the block deck as predator or prey. And since he were playing a Toreador anti-tribute breed boon, he can't really have that as his prey. It would be really difficult for him to get a single VP. So he placed himself as any reasonable man would, as Tomas's prey.
There's also another consideration. Since you don't want to sit next to Tomas at all, because Tomas can be a real pain in the ass for him, because he can just block the embraces and block everything. And it's more likely that the other players, you and Thiago, will want to be Tomas' prey, because he plays a block deck. He's not going to oust you. Yeah. So if he sits with where he's at, it's very likely that you will choose one of the positions that you chose, and thus he will not have Tomas next to him. So he'll get to breed freely. It's a lot more likely that he gets to breed freely if he sits there where he's at than the other way around.
Did we just lose our video?
It says here it's showing. Have you tried reloading?
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. Go on. So that was the first thing to consider. What would Benoit do in his shoes? And we and I came to this conclusion that he ought to be sit as Tomas's prey, and so he did. And that leaves me with basically only one position. I really don't want to sit next to David, because he plays a Hector multi-rush deck, which is horrendous against the girls deck, because he do Ag Poke with Grapple and then Amaranth. Yeah, what can you do? You can do nothing against that. I only have one banishment, and of course I have Jake, I have Unleash Hell's Fury, but that's living on a prayer. I much rather have Tomas as my predator. And since I have met him day one, playing the same deck, I knew that it would be fine. He don't have that much intercept, so he can survive me Ash tabling for stealth every single time. And especially considering that if he's going to block me, it's going to be either Unleash Hell's Fury, which I can elect not to play, or if I'm bleeding my prey, and then he needs to first be able to draw some sort of wake, probably Nihil's August, and then use Eagle Sight for the non-intercept option, and then all ends up with him getting less intercepts. I think that would be a great choice for me. And this also forces Thiago into an uncomfortable position, because he really can't have Tomas as his prey either, because he's played this 0 to low stealth deck.
Yeah.
So we'll never get Superior Govern through, probably. He'll never be able to bleed his prey out. So he needs to sit somewhere where he can govern freely and get a VP. So we can't sit next to David either, because he has a govern ladder that starts with an 8 cap. If that 8 cap ends up being eaten by Hector at a very early stage, it's basically game for Thiago. So he needs to be my prey.
Yeah. But I think that would be a good position as well. He plays with deflections, and it just seems right.
I think that's a huge consideration as well for Thiago, is that makes sure that he can get use of his deflections.
Yeah.
And it's a very good position for him, but also I knew that this is the only viable position for him, so by placing myself as Tomas's prey, I also know where Thiago is going to sit. So
it seems like at this point in the game that Thiago is at a good position to win just from the start of it.
Yeah.
Not only being first seed, also his positioning of himself.
As long as he doesn't die, he has really good chances of ousting Benoit.
Yeah,
and he later, as we will see later on, he did the right choices, because his problem is if Benoit outruns him. By that I mean he gets his set up and start bleeding too early, and start bleed booting too early for Thiago to have a chance of catching him.
Yeah.
But since he elected to do all his blocking against Benoit, which is the same thing to do, I'd say, because Benoit plays no stealth, a few change of target, and I play so much stealth that he, with your just second sight, basically have no chance of catching me. So he uses bounces against me, and he uses second edition against Benoit, which I think is the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we see a little bit later on in the finals when he does his he launches and then he taps out forward, blocks out.
Should we go to that right now?
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
So it's not all good.
No, there's a different way of playing the game while still in it, but I think the table is good. He can easily get 2-game win and win by 2-game win half a point.
And I think also from the get-go that Benoit has a decent shot of winning. I think because getting a Hector multi-rush deck ousted with a breed boon is probably not that problematic.
No.
Hector's come rushing. Okay, here, kill my Embrace and be done with it. It's fine because you have so many minions, and you have a Pelaground, and you have breed boon and Kynes and stuff. And he got his VP, so that's kind of obvious from my point of view. His biggest problem being that Thiago is in his rear and being third seed.
Yeah. Okay, so from the get-go, what did you think? You had as anyone who's seen the footage, you had a lot of problems with your vampires.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems because from the get-go I knew that Axinia the Cloud would be worthless, or more or less worthless. Because Tomas bleeds for low amounts, 1 or 2 per minion, and only has a few minions to play and doesn't bleed with them every turn, etc., etc. But not only that, David doesn't bleed that hard. He has a few Iron Glares, but that's about it. He mostly rushes. So I won't get that much bounce to me from David.
Yeah.
And obviously David won't bounce anything from Benoit because he doesn't have any bounces.
Yeah.
And Tomas doesn't bleed that hard. And more or less Tomas will be bleeding for about the same amount that I'm bloating each turn. So he will probably never oust me within 2 hours. Or rather, I'm very certain that he will not oust me by himself, that is.
Yeah.
So I elect not to go for Axinia. My plan is to go Cybele, in a circle, and just bleed. Like no tomorrow. But they start up with a big problem because I have to pay one to see one 4 times, I think, before I get to see my first non-Cybele, non-Axinia vampire.
Can I ask you, before you actually started playing, did you think you were going to win 1.5, 2.5, or 3, or did you have a point distribution in mind?
No, I really did not. When I saw the crypt, I thought that, or when I started to think about it, at that point I was just like, where I'm going to sit and what vampires I'm going to bring out. That was the first. But when I started thinking about the points distribution, I thought that I might actually, best case scenario, I sweep this. I can oust everybody at the table. But I don't think I will, because it's the finals and are very good players, and they probably start dealing. But I think I have no problem getting 1-3, 1-4, 1-5. So my plan was to bring out vampires and just bleed, like no tomorrow.
Were you not at least a bit concerned about Thiago's deflections, that he would be able to use your bleeds if you had been able to take out 2 inner circles, use your bleeds, and then him getting the upper edge and just bleeding away?
Yeah, and that's why I never bled for more than 3 until he was ousted. Because a bleed for 3, that's something that Benoit can handle. And I didn't know if Benoit played bounce or not, but very early on it got apparent that he do play bounces. So at that point, I'm not worried about Thiago when I know that Benoit plays bounce. Then I'm worried about Benoit winning. Yeah. Because then all my bleeds eventually end up in David.
Which Hector's flaw.
Yeah.
He can't survive.
Yeah, which is really, really funny.
So I'm more concerned at that point with Benoit winning, actually. Thiago has a decent shot at one point, I think. He launches. He goes down to very few pool. At that point, I think there's some out of turn stuff going on. He gets pool damage from lots of special ability, and I managed to bounce with Lost in Translation from Tomasz. And he goes down to low enough pool for me for bleed to 3 and then bleed to 3. And he didn't have any defenders at all.
I think one of the precursors to this is actually the round before that. The round before he lunged, he blocked a lot of con boons. He didn't manage to block all the con boons, because I think Benoit played 3. Don't quote me on this, but I think he tried to block a lot of what Benoit did, but eventually Benoit got 1 con boon through. But he still decided to lunge because he wanted his VP, obviously. But I think he wanted to avoid that con boon and then lunge. I think that was his plan.
And which would probably have gained Thiago a VP.
Yeah.
My guessing was up until that point he just played a few Governor Superior, and he'd done a lot of bouncing and blocking. So I think his hand was very bleed heavy. So I think he needed to bleed to actually get rid of his bleed cards to get more reaction cards. Because he knew that he will never catch me.
Okay.
That's why I think he's thinking. Yeah. So if he'd gotten 1 second tradition, he might have had a shot at getting my second bleed, because then he would have a second tradition for 2 intercept and the channel 10 for 2 intercept. And that's 4 intercept. And that's when it started to get difficult for the girls deck. Obviously, 1 Elder Impersonation solves that, but...
Well, he did use one on the Kiwi with the channel 10 at Benoit's turn. And I think this was also like kind of blocking a con boon and then just praying that you didn't have the cards or what have you, and really going for his victory point, being super aggressive.
Yeah. I think that Thiago might also have trusted Tomasz too much to actually make me not be able to oust. That Tomasz would want to and have the ability to block me while I'm trying to oust Thiago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this, but it might be somewhere in the back of Thiago's head.
Yeah. We're quite far ahead in the game right now when we're talking about Thiago's decisions and what eventually led to his death. But we had a few key elements before that as well. I mean, in the beginning of the match, the Hector deck rushes and takes an Amaranth to your Predator. How do you think that affected the game for you?
Not too much. It was just Isabelle de Leon. Obviously, it's very good when your Predator loses minion, but that's 1/3 cap. I don't think that would have made much of a difference. Maybe I would have gotten 3 or 4 pool damage more.
Well,
you were down to 3 or 4 pool at some point.
Yeah, but at that point I also had Lost in Translation on my hand.
Okay.
Something that I think is interesting is that we're not talking about it, and I think it hasn't been talked about enough, is that the one deck that can actually oust Tomas at this table is the Hector deck.
Yeah.
Because he plays 10 cap block decks. If you can Amaranth them, you're gonna kill the deck.
Yeah.
So, of course, this was something that David wanted to do, and it would be his one chance of getting the actual EC victory, was to do that. So I think he had an imperative to try and kill all Tomas minions.
Yeah.
Because he had the possibility. His deck is a combat deck. He's gonna be able to do that if he gets into combat and plays the right cards and what have you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the pace of the game. Did that ever concern you?
You mean like slowness?
Yeah, the slowness.
Time.
So, yeah.
At one point, it was really early when I did my third pay 1 to see ones, like still no inner circles. At that point, Thiago had spent a lot of time talking about different deals. At every moment he got an opportunity to talk about something, he started talking about it and try to change deals and change votes all the time.
Which is of course.
Yeah. I think as part of his plan was to make time go and get 0.5 for everybody in timeout or 1.5 for him in timeout.
I have a parenthesis here. At the beginning, when you guys turned up your umpires, you all decided to read them out loud, everything. Do you have to do that, or can you just...
we were instructed by Pascal to do that every single tournament. To announce... Also, we were instructed to announce... I don't know if that's in the audio recording, but we were instructed to announce the shifting of faces. So, and now I'm leaving Antaface. Now I'm leaving Master. Now I'm leaving Minion. To be... So it's clear where we are and what we're thinking about and what we're doing. So that's...
Yeah, because
you were really conscientious about it in the beginning, but later on, everyone just played normal.
Yeah, which is...
Yeah, but baby steps.
Baby steps, okay, sure.
Of course.
I think that's people overall play cards without telling them. Just like, put 3 cards on the table and say nothing and just presume everybody knows what you're doing. I think it's really important just... I play this card, this level for this purpose.
The most common one is someone playing Awake and a deflection, just putting it on the table and then waiting and not saying anything. It looks really weird.
Okay, I don't know, were you ever afraid of being outdealed by Thiago and...
Nope. Thiago, I don't think so. I think Thiago really didn't want Tomas to oust. Because when Tomas ousted me, if that happens, and I don't think that it would be really dangerous for Thiago, because he can't oust, basically. So at the moment, Tomas plays an Eagle Sight. He's caught. We should know that Tomas play combat, both Magnums and Sykes and Blurs and stuff like that, additional strikes. So that guy gets caught, gets knocked into torpor. It's no fun, Thiago, and that's another VP for Tomas.
Okay, cool. Another thing that I was thinking about when we were talking about pace, that at some point during the final, you decided to pick up the pace, and you took charge of the table a little bit. What are you doing? Do it, if you understand what I mean.
No, you have to elaborate.
Okay. You took charge and made people play faster. Was it because you needed time to oust, or was it...
I don't remember particularly, but I guess that's because I got kind of sick of Thiago just talking. And when you get your second minion that late in the game, if you see the footage, you see that for a really long time I only have 1 minion and I basically do nothing. Yeah. I bleed for 3 and it gets bounced. It's like, okay, good game. So I got really worried that one round that I ousted Thiago, it took until Tomas's turn that I understand, because then I saw in Thiago's face that he had given up.
Yeah.
Then I saw, okay, I understand. Now either he's got the best poker face ever, or I got him. But up until that moment, I actually thought that he had a bounce and awake.
Okay. But as we talked about in the other segment of the show, that point when you were down at 6 pool, with when you just brought up your inner circle, Lutz.
Yeah.
Were you totally safe?
The only one who maybe wanted to backoust me was Thiago. Benoit, I think, had no interest in backousting. Because if I get ousted, that means Tomáš get a point. That means Thiago will have a really hard time getting a point, because Tomáš is next to him. And if Benoit managed to get David out, that probably be at the same time as Tomáš gets Thiago out. And then it's 2.5 for Tomáš and 1.5 for Benoit. And Benoit, I think, have no chance in hell killing Tomáš within time. Yeah. So I think at that point, cross-table ousting me would probably end up very favorable for Tomáš, because of how much time would left, timing, etc.
Okay. Yeah. Adam?
I agree. It might have been different for Benoit if he got enough embraces. If he had, say he had 12 minions, then he can possibly, I don't know, win a duel against, Tomáš. So I think it's a decision he made partly because he was blocked when getting embraces as well.
Yeah. In the long run, it's not. I think that wasn't a conscious decision. More like, I have kind of few minions. This is a bit awkward.
I'm not going to be able to kill Tomáš. It's not going to happen.
But at that moment, I don't know if you remember that, but if you see the footage, during that turn, which I bring out Lutz into play, I actually asked Thiago in my untap, "Do you want to backoust me?"
Yeah.
And after some dancing around, he managed finally more or less say, "No, I'm not going to backoust you."
And that's obviously because he has no option to do that.
He has paired shift in his deck, and if I bleed him hard enough, he can play one backwards and be this really awkward timing. That's very detrimental for him.
Yeah. So I think it was the same turn as you got your VP, that they were talking about an ancient influence that
during David's turn.
Yeah. Can you explain what was going through your head when you heard them talking?
For me, it was like, was more or less like a win-win, because if it passed, it would have given 3 pool to Thiago, and then he lost 1 for Ancient Influence, so he gained 2 pool. And I actually had a Air Revelation on my hand, so I could neutralize that.
Okay.
But my biggest fear was, is there an Archon Investigation? And that was one thing that went through my head. An Archon Investigation, and I won't have enough time to recuperate and be able to take this. But the other thing that was problematic, because there were no problems for me, pool-wise. I was fine. Sure, I could have gotten 6 more pool and bring out another inner circle, but really, the other guys, David and Tomáš, were one who would have favored from that.
Yeah.
Because they will get so much more pool and have they will have much more room to diabolize stuff, and Tomáš could bring out an other minion if that other minion also was one of those Tremere princes with plus bleed. It might actually get up to 5-6 pool damage a turn, and then it can start to get really nasty for me.
Yeah.
Because I've elected not to pick Extended Cloud. So I was really happy that it was blocked, but it wasn't that important for my VP.
It's also something that's quite important to think about when you're in that situation is, do you have the power to affect this? And in your situation, maybe you could have talked.
Yeah.
But if you talked and affected the game, but if you would have included yourself in this discussion, it wouldn't have taken 15 minutes. It wouldn't have taken 20 or 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And as the table were at that point, no one was ousted, so adding time would have been a bit precarious at that situation.
Yeah, exactly. That's also.
So the only thing you could have done was talking, and talking would have been very beneficial. So I think it was good.
It would have been beneficial though, because then more time would have spent, and then he would have had a successful turn, and then he would have ousted anyway. As he said.
But during
know that?
During David's turn, I haven't seen that thing in Thiago's face yet. So I still thought that he had a wake plus bounce.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about, Thiago, Benoit, and David still can oust their praise.
Mm.
So someone can still get the tournament win, except for Isaac if he times out.
No.
Exactly, and that's really important point out, I think. So it was after that ancient influence that I saw in Thiago's face when he was like more or less, why the peep, Tomasz, did you block that? Now I'm dead.
Yeah.
With that moment, I saw some truth in Thiago's face. It's like, okay, I got a VP now.
Okay.
So it wasn't until after that was that resolution.
Usually when you play against girls, you see them bringing out Antelios really quickly, like as soon as they draw it. Was it a conscious decision not to play it until late, or did you
basically, I didn't get it, and I didn't care for Azure Tablets Pick It to Hand, because it wasn't one of those games. Some games you need to play several Gokondas, or Pentix each and every turn, or misdirection over and over and over again. Some tables are like that if you want to win with that deck. But this particular table were more or less just bleed. Thiago didn't play defensively. He played very aggressively, and rightfully so, I think. But that is really good for me as well, because that makes me end up in a situation where I actually have a shot at one point. I think Thiago was down to 6 pool, and Benoit 5, and David some other low. Not that low, but together I think they had 20 or 22 pool or so. The 3 of my potential praise, which is good.
Okay. Before, when you ousted as well, you played the Pentex backwards. Was it just because of the Eagle Sight, or?
Yeah, I started my turn trying to get. Tomasz is a good player, so he shouldn't answer that question, but you should try. So
did you realize, by the way, that he did not have Eagle Sight at all in his deck, or were you unsure?
He doesn't have Eagle Sight?
No, he relies only on Anakin.
I thought. I had no idea, actually.
When I saw that happen, I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't even have Eagle Sight. Maybe he just wants you to waste pool.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then when we saw the deck list, of course, that was the case.
Yeah.
But you didn't think about that as an option at all? You were certain he had Eagle Sight?
Not 100% certain, but it was like wasn't worth the risk. Because I know, since I've paced him one time before, I know that it plays a lot of second traditions.
Yeah.
And if he has second tradition Eagle Sight on his hand, and the one untapped prince is in Pentex and the tapped prince is not, then the tapped prince can't block me.
Yeah.
Then he needs like Wake Eagle Sight second, so that just to make it more difficult for him.
Okay.
But it's also one of those things. I have the pool. I am in the EC finals. Should I lose my trophy because I was greedy?
Yeah, of course.
I want to have the most pool of all.
So it was really just to be safe. Okay. I did that. But at first I tried to make him say, no, you can oust. A worse player should have just like would say yes. Oh, of course you can oust. I can't even block you. It's like, but then the really were 2 instances in the end was really sweaty. As soon as I ousted Thiago and Benoit got his turn, he tried to make a deal with Tomasz of actually ousting me and David at the same time.
And Tomasz wanted that deal to make him win.
Yeah.
Tomasz made a deal of like, okay, you gotta kill Isaac first, and then he can start Annika blocking. Or he can block the votes because he's Predator.
Then the funny thing is I think some people just see a negotiation crashing for no reason, or crashing because they didn't get along. That's not what I saw. I saw 2 people wanting 2 different things because they had different seeds.
Yeah.
Because for Benoit, it sounds really like non-greed. It's like, oh, we get a DP each. It sounds very generous and reasonable, but it's actually not reasonable. What he's saying is, let me win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he has a higher seed. Yeah. If it goes to time, and we probably would go to time, because at the time I'd ousted, I think it was something like 25 minutes left of the game, or maybe 20. Or maybe 30, I don't know. Anyways, you see the point? But Tomasz says, no, we need to kill Isaac first. And that's because he's lower seed.
Yeah.
So Benoit wanted to kill you both with the same action.
Yeah.
And Thomas wanted to kill you first and then David afterwards.
How would he be able to do that?
Votes.
Kinds
Kind.
and
But did he had enough kinds to be
he said he had enough anyways. And
you had
looking at the footage, you saw that he had a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think he had a neonate breach and 2 kinds, so I think he would have been able to do it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was the thing is that what Benoit knows is that deal means, okay, we will kill Isaac and then I'll deal break you.
Yeah, because Thomas will not give away easy victory, and nor should he.
No.
If it's in a situation where it's like, okay, I can either win the hardest tournament in the world, or I can let this other guy win it. He's got to choose to win it, of course. Yeah. So they wanted different things, and they both realized they couldn't agree. I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
Of course, there was some heated words, and there was a bit animosity, but they they said afterwards, it was okay, I was just in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not really. They just wanted to win. They wanted to play competitively. So I think it was actually a reasoned dispute. It wasn't an emotional dispute, for real.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the emotions came from this means that Isaac wins.
Yeah.
I do think that's why they got very tense, because no one could give. It's like if Tomasz is a situation where I can let the Swedish guy or I can let the French guy win. It's not like he cares, because he wants to win.
Yeah.
I guess I should not. I'm sorry, Tomasz, if I've put words in your mouth, but more or less, I think, at least if I were Tomasz, I would have those thoughts. It doesn't matter who wins, as long as not me. It's the only thing that matters, and that's how you should play a game.
Were you ever afraid of him actually self-ousting to Benoit?
Yeah. He seemed frustrated, and I know from previous games we played that he really doesn't like games that go on for a long time, because because his play style is very defensively. Last year he won the legendary vampire tournament with a howler style block deck. The same thing. So he really plays a game where he's on people all the time. Play faster, you're pro playing, do it faster, do it faster. And at one point it actually managed to stress me, even in this finals. When I saw it afterwards, I saw that I made one decision wrong because he were on me. So I actually got kind of stressed about, is he serious? But then I saw that he has 8 pool and didn't play any crypt acceleration. So I know that I was safe. But here's the dangerous part, and I think Benoit actually missed this, because Tomasz tells Benoit, okay, I don't fucking care, do as much pool damage you can on me and I will transfer out.
Yeah.
That was he said. Benoit didn't hear it, so he just let David out and passed the turn to Tomasz.
Yeah. He could have used his minions on bleed.
Yeah, and Tomasz said that he would transfer out, because he played a Pentex on me and then he transferred 4, so he was actually down to 2 pool at the last few seconds of the game.
Yeah.
But as we should state this, that Tomasz has been on the forums and written and said that he never meant to self-host, the only way to stress me. And I can say that he successfully did that.
Okay, so what was in the after thoughts? What was the biggest mistake you made the game?
That was the stress thing I was talking about. When that turn, I'm going to play my 3rd Asher tablet for the 2nd set. That's just my last turn I have. I on my hand have enough bleed to take Benoit out. I'm guessing he has at least 1 bounce. I've played a lot of bounces, and he DI'd 1 approximation earlier, so I think he's low on bounces. So I think I need an approximation loyalty, and I think that 1 would be enough. And all his vampires are legal target. So I sit with 3 Master Phase actions. I'm going to play a Liquidation, a Dreams of the Sphinx, and an Asher Tablet. That was going to play in my turn. If you look at the footage, I'm just staring dumbly.
Dumbstruck.
Dumbstruck, just into the camera, because I'm thinking, what is the most efficient way to get stealth? That's what I'm going to do with these cards. And this is a lot harder when you think, when there's just a few minutes away from a trophy. Yeah. So what I did was I played Dreams, draw cards for Dreams, then played Liquidation, then played Ash Tablets, and then put the Approximation of my Loyalty in my hand. That's what I did. But that's wrong if I want to maximize my chances of getting stealth. What I should have done was play Liquidation, and just pick all the stealth cards as I did and put the Approximation on my hand. Play Ash Tablet and then put the stealth back in and put the Approximation of Loyalty in my hand. And then play the Dreams. To get one replaced from the new deck, then tap Dreams for 2 more cards and then get an additional 2 cards from my new deck.
Yeah. So you get 3 replaces from a better deck than 3 replaces from a poorer deck.
Yeah, of course. That's kind of a big mistake, though.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it could have been. Now I won, anyways, but it could have been devastating. Especially if this.
It would have eaten you up inside.
It would have. If the self-out threat was real, I wasn't like a smoke and mirrors as it was. If it was for real, then I would have lost the game. Because I think I need to go back and check the footage, but I do think that Benoit only had the 1 bounce, and then I would be safe.
I think so as well.
So there was stealth lacking that final round I had.
Approximation of Loyalty was a big card for you this game. Yeah,
it really played well. At one point, it's very apparent that Thiago didn't have his mind on Approximation of Loyalty because he bounced with what's the guy called?
Mustafa there.
Yeah, exactly. And at one point I did it on Benoit and successfully, and one point I did it and it got DI'd.
Yeah. Well, it's an extremely powerful card. Removing bounces.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of good. Yeah, it works on DIs as well. So
delaying
tactics. Yeah. Of course, a little bit.
And it's also a poor man's seduction if you want that inferior.
Yeah,
so it's a good card. One other thing that I thought we should talk a little bit about is you got stressed when you were doing your Azure tablets and you made a mistake. There has been a lot some talks on the forum about Azure tablets that it takes a long time to resolve and play with. What do you guys think about that?
You should bring up the stuff you said earlier, Adam, about the timings.
It's something that I actually think is interesting, and I timed 3 Azure tablets I had footage of. The 2 Isaac did during the finals, and as well as one I did at another tournament I have footage of, which has not been released yet.
Yeah.
So Isaac's first Azure tablets took 2 minutes, his second one took 1 minute and 45 seconds, and the one I did at this extra footage I took 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So this is like, I shouldn't call it a benchmark, but I think this could be a mean or an average of how much time an Azure tablet would take if you're not stressed but not stalling.
Yeah. And I mean,
and that's I got the impressions from the forum really that people said that my second Azure tablets took me longer than my first, and I thought so as well. But in hindsight, with the time, it's really obvious I didn't. 15 seconds difference.
Well, of course it's what you said when you said that you were thinking about which way to get extra stealth.
Yeah.
In staring blankly into the camera. So maybe your untap phase and master phase took a certain amount of time, but your the moving the cards and shuffling the deck, from the moment you play the third Azure tablet till the moment you present the deck to your predator. Around. So.
Well, I mean, if you compare, when we talked about this earlier, I made a comparison with Heart and Nichetes, which actually takes a lot of time from a game when someone uses it over time. So, me myself, I wouldn't be so harsh on the Azure tablets for time consuming in that way.
No, it's dealing. I think dealing is the biggest. If you want to speed a game along, you should be either stop dealing. Either as like if someone tries to make a deal with you, you just say no or you say yes, or if you want to make a deal with someone else, you should ask the question, you get a no, you stop it. Or if you're not involved, you should mediate and try to make the deal as fast as possible, even if it's not beneficial for you, even if you might have a chance to stop the deal and it's good for you to stop it. If you're stressed, you need to realize that you're stressed. You should just make these players get along and make the dealing, because dealing it takes so much more time than playing cards.
which is obvious from this footage. I think it's one of those dogs of war that takes a long time. I haven't timed it, but I think it's maybe 5 minutes.
Turn 6 or turn 7, both those turns, which are, of course, very important turns, because that's like decides the end game, of course. But those takes a lot of time compared to all other turns.
Yeah, but the thing that Adam states is that who is the one who wins by the clock ticking? And that's only one person at any given moment in time. And you should know, who is that person? Is that person me? Then initiate negotiations. But if you're not, make the negotiations stop, say either yes, no, maybe, and just and make it resolve and go to the next action.
Yeah.
And the same, you can, as you stated, that I did, Anders, when I intervene, it's like pre-range, maneuver.
Yeah.
Some people are very delicate or whatever when they're in combat. You should just have it make... That's why I have as a habit always to ask my pray for block, and then my predator block. And some people get angry. Oh, I play Daughters of Cacophony, I never block. But you should ask. Just to have it as a standard in your body. That's why I always go, no pre-range, maneuver, strike, to make it all go fast, not the time. And one should point out that in Sweden, I think, timed out finals for the last 2 years. Can any one of you remember a timed out finals last 2 years?
I don't know, maybe, do you mean time without, I don't know, man.
No, just time out, when the game has gone on for 2 hours.
It happened at Lincoln last year. 9-man tournament though, so it's not a... But yeah, it doesn't happen much. And the recent national championship, the Swedish national championship, was actually less than 1 hour.
Yeah.
And people weren't like... It wasn't a Kindred Spirits weenie, and Professor Weenie, and a Panda deck. There was like a regular standard kind of decks in the game.
Yeah, there was an Allspex weenie, there were a high cap law firm.
Lots Power Bleed. There was like standard decks, and it still took under 1 hour. So,
but this is the main thing. There's no bullshit. I have this deal. Do you like it? No, I don't. Okay, we go on. I think that's the biggest thief if you're in the non-winning position.
Yeah. But if you are in the winning position, then go ahead, make your deals, talk about your opponent's sweaters.
But that's
until someone tells
you need to pertain to the game.
I don't think talking about sweaters is actually allowed by the rules, but making deals obviously is.
Yeah.
You have to talk about the game. You're not allowed to start talking about like what you had for dinner.
Even if people do that sometimes, but it's.
So and do you have like any more what sums up your victory? Last words concerning it. You shall never speak of it again.
This is your last chance.
You are so wrong. It's just like, my gods, it's so ridiculous how strong it is to play Azure tablets for stealth, and when you've done that, you play Azure tablets once again for stealth, and when you do that one more time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, actually. It's how stupidly strong it is.
Okay. Cool. So of course, congratulations. It's awesome. It's good for the show, so I like it.
Thank you.
It's really egoistical reasons you like this.
Yes.
You don't have anything for Isaac at all.
Yeah. You have no empathy.
No.
I'm dead inside.
Yes. I'm hollow. And we're going to end this little webcast of ours on a happier, or a different note, anyway, besides my hollowness. It's a little funny anecdote from the tournament which Adam has pertaining a war ghoul.
Yes, so I got to get into a few situations which I haven't tried before with the war ghoul deck, namely a few ally situations where how does war ghoul interact with allies, because the war ghouls can't rush allies. I got into a duel with an Effendi deck, and I can only rush vampires, since war ghoul is vampire only and Ocean is vampire only. So I get to rush my the heads up. Sorry, it's Chevsky from the forums. I got to rush his vampires in torpor, but his Nefandi managed to block all my vampires in torpor. So more or less, we have a Nefandi against Warghoul kind of duel, and he has Dragonbound in play. Okay. And I have more minions in torpor, but I have the Edge and Montreal. So it's like Warghoul against the Nefandi, and I managed to win it by having Tasha Morgan and J.S. Simmons on 2 Warghouls and bleeding with them, because he can't block the Warghouls win against the Nefandi in combat. So I have Ocean and a Warghoul for defense, and I have two Warghouls for bleeding, and then I managed to win with Tasha Morgan and J.S. Simmons on Warghouls. So it's kind of fun.
Cool.
Also, one big part is sacrificing one Warghoul to remove his Parthenon. I tap it to remove his Parthenon, and then he can't bloat by Asher Tablets liquidation as much. Yeah. I think that was a part as well.
That's one of those games that you wish you record.
Yeah, it would have been fun, because it's a once in a lifetime kind of game, I think.
Yeah. And actually seeing that opening, I think, is a sign of a strong player. It was like, this is actually manageable. I have the Edge for both, I have Montreal for both, and I can bleed with these guys if they do this really unorthodox thing.
Well, and thank you, Chepsy, for that duel. It was really hard and actually fun, and well, yeah.
So, real cool. The EC seemed great, guys. So congratulations to you both for playing well.
You will be coming this year?
Yes, I will.
It's just around the corner this year, literally.
We'll be in Sweden. I will be there.
Oh, it's not Chepsky. It's Mikhail Kochalowski. Sorry.
Oh, your pronunciation is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. So thank you for that duel. If you see this.
Oh, cool.
Got the wrong guy. Oh, sorry. Go on, Anders.
Yeah, so cool, everyone. It's been great. We'll see you guys in the next show. That's all for us. Have a good night.
Yeah,
goodbye.
Thank you. Night.
Bye.
Okay, last thing, everyone. Forgot to. Okay, that's it for this time. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And remember, if you have any thoughts, comments, or ideas, you can post them on our Facebook page or send an email to the address below, which is causeampersandeffect@gmail.com. Remember to like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube account, and we will post a thread on weekend.net forum where you can continue the discussions. So, have a great life.